the risk of heart attack in women with lipid buildup. In other words, the lipid buildup in your arteries may put you at risk for a heart attack, but maybe HRT can prevent you from actually having the heart attack. This is still a form of treatment. They are assessing whether HRT can stop the progress of heart disease. This study used older women with an average age of 73, and the result was that HRT did not prevent heart attacks in women who already had lipid buildup in their arteries. In other words, HRT did not treat heart disease. Next was the Women's Estrogen Progestin Lipid Lowering Hormone Atherosclerosis Regression Trial. Ugh, mouthful. It's also known as WELLHART, W-E-L-L-H-A-R-T. It had the same objective as the ERA trial, to determine if HRT could reduce heart attack in women with already existing heart disease. But these researchers designed the study a bit differently than the ERA study. They compared postmenopausal women with heart disease to postmenopausal women without heart disease. And what they found was that HRT did prevent heart attacks in women who did not already have heart disease, but it did not prevent them in women who did already have heart disease. So this is the first study to demonstrate that the effect of HRT was dependent on whether or not there was already lipid buildup in the arteries. Now remember this, because this is a turning point in our current understanding. This is the first study that makes a distinction and actually compares prevention and treatment. At the same time that the WELLHART study was going on, the Women's Health Initiative, or WHI, was already underway. Its objective was to determine if HRT could prevent heart attacks, but it did not distinguish pre-existing heart health status. It just addressed all hearts equally and asked, can HRT prevent heart attacks or not? So this study did not distinguish between prevention and treatment. And it studied women with an average age of 63, but did not separate them with regard to either age or heart health status. If you've been paying attention to my education, you already know that age and heart health status are absolutely critical to your risk of heart attack. So ignoring age and heart health status is like ignoring everything except genetics and determining why you're short. Now, this WHI is the study with which most women are familiar. And that's because the media reporting of the results created a tidal wave in the use of HRT that has continued until this very day. The WHI was reported as showing that HRT caused heart attacks. Now, I just told you that it was a study designed to determine if HRT can prevent heart attacks. So how did the researchers switch gears from studying prevention to studying cause? You see, when it comes to research, you have to stay really focused. You cannot get distracted. The way you design a study to determine cause is completely different than the way you design a study to determine prevention. And that's why this particular study was so shocking. It should not have been. It was no more remarkable than any of the other studies I've mentioned. But have you heard of any of the others? I'm going to bet you haven't. And the reason you haven't is because they weren't distorted and sensationalized. Their results were just added to the growing fund of knowledge, and they set the stage for the next study. So let me tell you the real results of the WHI. The average age of the women was 63, and they had never taken HRT before. This means that they had been without estrogen for over 10 years. And the WHI was designed as a trial of healthy women. However, 50% were smokers, 33% were overweight, 33% had high blood pressure, and 4% had diabetes. Every one of those is a risk factor for heart attack. So these women were already at high risk for a heart attack. If you add that to the fact that they had been postmenopausal for over 10 years with no estrogen, you could be sure that they were all at really high risk for a heart attack already. The actual results were that with estrogen and progesterone, heart attacks increased 26%. The actual numbers translated to 7 more heart attacks per 10,000 women per year. And that part you didn't hear. The part you didn't hear about was that the risk of heart attack in women between the ages of 50 and 59 who took estrogen alone was decreased by 50%. So this one study with its flawed design and faulty reporting is the one that freaked everyone out and still does today. Well, after the frenzy settled down, all the data from the WHI was reanalyzed, and the ultimate conclusion was that early initiation of HRT in the early years of postmenopause is associated with lower rates of heart attacks. But as you increase the length of time between estrogen loss and initiation of HRT, the rate of heart attacks increases. And once lipids have built up in your arteries, HRT can't reverse it. This has become what is known as the timing hypothesis, and it's all the same stuff I've taught you about the estrogen window of opportunity. Simply put, if you begin HRT in the early years of your postmenopause before your arteries are clogged with lipids, you can prevent clogging and prevent a heart attack. But if you don't start HRT in your early postmenopause and you go more than 5 to 10 years without it, HRT will not reverse the clogging, nor will it prevent a heart attack. And at that point, it may even cause a heart attack because your arteries just can't handle it anymore. So the WHI should have made a distinction between prevention and cause, but it didn't. But it did set the stage for the next study, which is the Kronos Early Estrogen Protection Study, or KEEPS. And its objective was to determine if early start HRT is beneficial rather than harmful for atherosclerosis. So it addressed the ability of HRT to prevent atherosclerosis, and it did not focus at all on cause or treatment. It included only women in early postmenopause who had no lipid buildup in their arteries, and it's still ongoing, so I can't tell you the results. And there are 2 other studies taking place presently. One is called the ELITE trial, early versus late intervention trial with estradiol, and its objective is to determine if early use of estrogen will decrease the risk of heart attacks, and I hypothesize that it will. And the other ongoing study is the Nurses Health Study Part 3, or NHS-3. This one is a long-term study that's looking at younger women between the ages of 30 and 55 years old, and it seeks to follow them over time so that it can take into account all the factors that affect heart attack risk as women age, and then discover how to prevent it. So, if you line up all these studies, you can see how one led to the next, and you can see that how we got here today, and I think we haven't made much progress. I mean, we were percolating along, discovering each piece of the puzzle, and then bam, the WHI stopped everybody in their tracks and erased all the progress we'd made for over a century. And I just hope we can recover and continue to do what's beneficial for women. So now you understand how all of this came about, and the bottom line is that HRT can prevent heart attack if you take it before you have heart disease. It can cause heart attack if you take it once you already have heart disease, and it cannot treat heart disease once you have it. So I hope that you take this as a lesson to understand that you have to know the details of research before reacting to it, because no one study can tell you everything all at once. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I will sign off for now. If you need a private consultation with me to talk about anything of your issues, go to menopausetailor.me. That's where you schedule, and I will be glad to meet you. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.